Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, frozen, as the doctor humiliated her in front of a patient, her voice stripped from her in a place she thought was safe. But what no one knew was that the man lying in that hospital bed wasn't just any patient. He had been sent there for one reason: to take down a monster hiding in plain sight. And that cruel outburst was the final piece of a puzzle that would unravel a twisted web of power, racism, and death. Inside Eastbrook Private Hospital, Dr. Charles Mercer, a renowned cardiologist, humiliated his black subordinate, Amara Johnson, in front of a patient. He called her incompetent, unqualified, and told her she was lucky to even be in a place like this. It wasn't the first time, but this moment would trigger the unraveling of something far darker, something that had claimed lives. Amara Johnson, 31, had worked at Eastbrook for 5 years, respected by patients, loved by co-workers, but constantly overlooked and verbally abused by Dr. Mercer. He controlled her schedule, her reviews, and her career. Speaking up meant risking everything. But this time, someone else had been watching. Dr. Charles Mercer, 49, respected, decorated, untouchable. His bedside manner was cold, but he had powerful connections. Whispers of insurance fraud, excessive billing, and even unexplained deaths had followed him for years, but no one had dared to challenge him. Until now, the patient in the hospital bed that morning was actually Special Agent Leon Maddox, embedded undercover after Eastbrook was flagged for a suspicious rise in elderly patient deaths. What he witnessed that day, Mercer's unprovoked, racially charged attack, was enough to fast-track his investigation. Within days, subpoenas were issued. What they found was shocking. Dozens of terminal patients had unknowingly signed life insurance policies listing Mercer's shell company as the beneficiary. Amara had signed off on several forms, never knowing the real intent behind them. Surveillance logs and computer records had been erased, pointing to a sophisticated cover-up. And worse, whispers began to surface that Mercer may have accelerated some of those deaths. Amara was called in for questioning. For the first time, she spoke freely. She revealed how Mercer demanded certain patients never be left alone, how he insisted on handling end-of-life paperwork personally, and how she once walked on him injecting something into an 4, then denying it happened. Suddenly, Mercer's crimes weren't just financial. They might have been lethal. As of June 2024, Mercer was suspended pending trial. Amara filed a lawsuit for racial discrimination and wrongful workplace abuse. The families of 17 former patients came forward, demanding answers. Mercer was indicted on charges of medical fraud, insurance fraud, and involuntary manslaughter. But just as federal agents moved in to arrest Mercer at his estate, he wasn't there. Mercer had vanished. No phone, no car, no note, just a locked study, and inside it, a burned hard drive, an empty syringe, and a list of names. At the top of that list was Amara Johnson. June 17, 2024. Federal agents arrived at Mercer's estate in Buckhead, Georgia. It's silent. Too silent. The lights are off. His car is still in the driveway. No signs of forced entry. But Mercer is gone. Inside his study, investigators find something chilling. A burned external hard drive, traces of narcotics, and a handwritten list of former staff and patients. At the very top, Amara Johnson. Had he run, or was someone helping him disappear? As the manhunt for Dr. Mercer begins, investigators dig deeper into his past. They uncover multiple offshore accounts under fake names, a vacation property in the Cayman Islands, and encrypted messages between Mercer and an unknown contact labeled only as ST. They also discover he held multiple insurance policies on deceased patients, and that some signatures appeared forged. The deeper they go, the darker it gets. Now under federal protection, Amara Johnson gives a full deposition. She recalls one night when she overheard Mercer arguing on the phone. He said, "She's getting too close. I told you, if anything leaks, we're both done." She thought it was about another nurse, but now she wonders if she was the one he meant. Days after her interview is made public, Amara receives an anonymous text. "You should have kept your mouth shut." After the media breaks the story of Mercer's disappearance, families begin coming forward. One woman, Dana Walsh, claims her father signed paperwork in Mercer's office, then died unexpectedly 2 days later. Another former nurse, Maria Santos, says she was fired after questioning why so many end-of-life patients were coded incorrectly in the system. All the cases point to the same pattern: vulnerable patients, sudden deaths, and quiet payouts. July 3rd, 2024. A maintenance worker finds a body in the woods behind Eastbrook Hospital. At first, authorities think it might be Mercer, but the autopsy tells a different story. It's not Mercer. It's someone else. John Calloway, a hospital IT manager who'd gone missing 2 weeks earlier. He had been helping investigators retrieve deleted emails from Mercer's system, and now he's dead. One doctor vanished, one IT manager murdered, one nurse silenced for too long. And just as investigators begin tracing Mercer's last known phone call, it pings back to life. The location? A small airstrip outside Atlanta. Surveillance shows a man boarding a private jet, wearing a hat, sunglasses, and limping. Surveillance footage from a small private airstrip outside Atlanta shows a man resembling Mercer, disguised, limping, and carrying a duffel bag, boarding a twin-engine jet bound for San Juan, Puerto Rico. But when authorities trace the plane, they discover something strange. The aircraft never landed at its final destination. Instead, it made an unauthorized landing on a private island registered to a shell company, one that Mercer's shell insurance firm had sent payments to. It wasn't an escape. It was a fallback plan. While combing through financial records and encrypted files recovered from Mercer's home, investigators discover repeated transactions made to an alias, Esty. These payments total over $3 million in the last 18 months. Then, a breakthrough. A whistleblower from Eastbrook's billing department comes forward with an employee login tied to Esty, Dr. Simon Tate. Tate wasn't just a colleague. He was Mercer's former mentor. And worse, he had quietly retired 6 months before the investigation began. Tate had once been a renowned medical ethicist, but a decade ago, he was implicated in an illegal organ transplant scheme in South America. The charges vanished, just like the evidence. Now, Tate is back in the picture, and if Mercer fled to a private island, there's a strong chance he isn't alone. Warrants are issued, but Tate is gone. His house in Nashville is empty, his passport history wiped clean, and the last person to see him? Found dead in a car fire outside a motel in Memphis. Meanwhile, nurse Amara Johnson is moved to a new federal protection site after receiving another anonymous threat. Keep digging and you'll be next. But Amara is no longer afraid. She's become the face of a growing movement, nurses, caregivers, and victims' families demanding answers. And someone is listening. Congressional hearings are scheduled. The FBI forms a task force. And the media begins asking, how deep does this medical mafia really go? July 14th, 2024. A journalist from an independent outlet receives a flash drive in the mail. No return address. Inside, over 200 gigabytes of files, audio, video, emails, linking both Mercer and Tate to a list of clients, patients they allegedly helped pass away under fabricated palliative circumstances. Each name matched with a payout. Each death listed as natural causes. But one name on the list hadn't died. Not yet. The final name on that list was Amara Johnson. The file next to her name was dated 2 weeks ago. And in it, a chilling voice memo from Mercer himself. If she talks, we're both dead. Handle it. The anonymous flash drive sent to an independent journalist contains 37 audio recordings. In one of them, Mercer's voice is clear. The list is locked. No witnesses. Amara goes next if she talks. Investigators cross-check the list with hospital records. Every patient marked as deceased under Mercer's care had one thing in common. Each had recently increased their life insurance coverage, and each policy named the same obscure trust as a beneficiary. But Amara's name wasn't on any patient list. Her inclusion was personal. As investigators try to track down Mercer's location, another disturbing pattern emerges. Every time federal agents close in on a potential lead, someone tips Mercer off. Surveillance footage disappears. Witnesses recant. Bank accounts are frozen mysteriously, without court orders. It becomes clear someone inside the system is protecting him. The prime suspect? A high-ranking official in the Georgia Department of Public Health, one who once served on the same hospital board as Dr. Mercer. Under pressure and fearing for her life, Amara agrees to a nationally televised interview. Tearfully, she reveals what happened that day in the hospital, how Mercer had targeted her, and how she stayed silent for years out of fear. Amara, Clip, they made sure we felt replaceable, disposable. I thought if I kept my head down, I'd be safe. I was wrong. Her story sends shockwaves. Thousands of nurses begin sharing their own experiences with workplace abuse, retaliation, and discrimination. A movement is born. Just days after the interview airs, Amara's safe house is breached. No forced entry. Nothing stolen. Just a printed screenshot of her interview, pinned to the refrigerator with a scalpel. Security footage reveals nothing. No fingerprints. No DNA. Someone knew the cameras were disabled before the breach. That night, an anonymous call is made to Amara's federal handler. The voice is scrambled, but the message is chilling. She talks again, and her heart stops next. Meanwhile, another name on the hit list, Dr. Andrea Lynn, a former anesthesiologist who once questioned Mercer's practices, is found dead in her apartment. Initial reports call it suicide, but her sister insists Andrea wasn't suicidal. A second flash drive is mailed to the same journalist. This one shows internal Eastbrook emails, several of them from Dr. Simon Tate, pressuring Lynn to stay quiet. Andrea had planned to testify the following week. With the hit list now public and the death toll rising, the FBI sets a new plan in motion to bait Mercer out of hiding. They create a false report that Amara will appear at a live press conference in D.C. But hours before the broadcast, they receive a package. Inside it, a single nurse's badge. Amara's July 21st, 2024. Amara was scheduled to appear in a closed-door pre-testimony meeting with federal agents. She never showed. Surveillance footage from the government's safe house showed her exiting the building alone 12 hours before the meeting, without her security detail. No explanation. No message. Her phone was left behind. The last known footage of her shows her walking into a black SUV driven by a man wearing a U.S. Marshal badge. Problem is, no marshals were scheduled to transport her that day. Facial recognition software identifies the driver as Bryce Heller, a private contractor with deep ties to law enforcement. But here's where things get darker. Heller's company, Aegis Tactical Solutions, once provided security consulting to Eastbrook Private Hospital. 2 years ago, the company was investigated for illegally accessing confidential patient records, and nothing ever came of it. When the FBI attempted to locate Heller, they discover he fled the country just 72 hours after picking up Amara. Documents pulled from the flash drive show Mercer wasn't working alone. He was just a face, confident, arrogant, and reckless. But someone else was behind the structure, managing the fake insurance policies, laundering the payouts, and ensuring silence through threats, bribes, or worse. Emails from Simon Tate reference a code name, the Architect. Every major financial decision, every hit, and every leak approved by the Architect. And now, for the first time, federal agents believe Amara Johnson may have come face-to-face with him, or her. Internal review of the FBI uncovers a disturbing pattern. Every move to protect Amara was somehow compromised. Encrypted calls traced a Washington, D.C. link back to Special Agent Michael Lennox, a senior field supervisor assigned to Amara's protection unit. Lennox had direct access to the safe house locations and had worked previously with Aegis Tactical Solutions. He is now under investigation for obstruction and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. When confronted, Lennox said only this: "You have no idea how high this goes. You're looking at Mercer, but you should have looked at who funded him." Just when hope seems lost, Amara's email account sends out an encrypted message to her attorney. The subject line is blank. The message contains only one sentence. He's not who you think he is. Look at the board of trustees. Attached is a blurry photo, taken in secret, of a man in a luxury suit speaking with Dr. Simon Tate. The timestamp is just 2 days before Mercer disappeared. The man in the photo, he's not in the hospital system, but he's been seen before giving political speeches and fundraising for medical research. He's a billionaire, a philanthropist, and one of the largest private donors to Eastbrook Hospital. The public still believes he's saving lives, but Amara may have uncovered the truth. He's been funding death for profit. And now the question isn't just whether she's alive. It's whether anyone who knows the truth is safe. His name is Victor Langston, tech mogul, philanthropist, and self-proclaimed healthcare reformer. He's been featured in Forbes, Time, and countless health conferences, praised for donating over $120 million to hospitals and research foundations across the U.S. But behind the scenes, Langston's money was being funneled through shell companies that held life insurance policies on elderly patients, many of whom died under Dr. Mercer's care. The connection was clean until Amara's blurry photo placed him face-to-face with Dr. Simon Tate, just days before Mercer disappeared. A new source comes forward, an Eastbrook financial auditor named Renee Caldwell. She contacts the FBI, saying she has documents showing that Langston's charitable donations were actually backdoor payments for controlling interests in Eastbrook's patient care systems. She agrees to testify anonymously, but 2 days before the scheduled interview, Renee's apartment is ransacked. Her laptop is gone, her phone's wiped, and she hasn't been seen since. One neighbor reports seeing 2 men in dark uniforms entering her apartment hours before police arrived, claiming they were private security sent by the hospital board. Emails retrieved from a second flash drive reveal a horrifying motive. Eastbrook was being used as a testing ground for cost-saving end-of-life measures. In plain English, accelerating patient deaths to free up beds, cut long-term costs, and maximize insurance returns. The project? Initiative Mercy, created by a consulting firm that Victor Langston partially owns. Every patient marked eligible had a private insurance policy set up just weeks before death, and a select few hospital staff, Dr. Mercer, Dr. Tate, and others, received quarterly bonuses for high turnover. As whispers of Langston's connection to Eastbrook begin to surface, major media outlets suddenly go silent. Stories are pulled, reporters go quiet. One journalist admits her editor received a cease and desist letter from Langston's legal team before the story was even published. Even worse, the FBI's official investigation into Victor Langston is shut down by order of the Department of Justice. No explanation given. Internal agents start questioning whether this isn't just a hospital scandal, but a federal one. But the truth doesn't disappear. It reappears in the form of an anonymous hacker named Spectre, who contacted Amara's attorney directly. Spectre claims to have internal recordings from Initiative Mercy board meetings and warns, "You're all running out of time." They know where she is, and they won't let her testify. The next file Spectre sends is a hospital security feed from a private wing no one knew existed. In it, Amara Johnson, alive, hooked to IVs, guarded. Amara Johnson is alive, but she's being kept somewhere deep within the very hospital she tried to expose. And the next board meeting is scheduled for Monday. Agenda item number 4, final clearance of remaining liability assets. The footage leaked by Spectre showed Amara confined to an off-the-books wing labeled Palliative Observation, R17. The room was sterile, the staff unregistered, and the 4 bags unlabeled. The location matched architectural blueprints of a sealed sublevel beneath Eastbrook Hospital, shut down in 1999 for infrastructure reasons. It was never demolished. It was repurposed. According to Spectre, multiple whistleblowers have been quietly discharged there, never to be heard from again. On August 6th, at 3:17 a.m., an off-the-books joint task force led by rogue federal agents and ex-medical staff stormed the hospital's sublevel entrance. They expected to find an empty basement. What they found was a fully operational black site, 8 hospital beds, 5 sedated individuals. one medical database archiving detailed reports on neurological response to high-dose sedatives. These weren't patients, they were subjects. And in the last room, they found her. Audio fades and gasping breaths, medical alarms, faint whisper, "Is it over?" Amara was found alive, but barely. Malnourished, disoriented, and heavily drugged, she was immediately transported to an undisclosed rehabilitation facility. Initial tests revealed traces of a banned cognitive suppressant, used in experimental trauma therapy during Cold War-era interrogations. She was being chemically silenced. Doctors say she may never regain full memory of what happened in that room. The fallout was swift and devastating. Dr. Simon Tate was arrested in a private jet hangar, attempting to flee to Switzerland with over $9 million in bearer bonds. Victor Langston, the billionaire behind Initiative Mercy, went on national television to deny involvement, only to be indicted days later after Spectre leaked direct audio of him approving Mercy clearance protocols. Dr. Mercer, still missing, was formally charged in absentia with 42 federal crimes. The hospital board was dissolved. Eastbrook's license revoked. Multiple state officials resigned or were implicated for accepting bribes to keep inspections at bay. A final report released by independent investigators revealed the scale of the horror. Over 89 confirmed deaths tied directly to Initiative Mercy, many elderly, terminally ill, and vulnerable patients quietly marked for compassionate acceleration, all for profit. But one section of the report remains classified: the patients who were never listed in hospital records, the undocumented, the invisible, meaning the real number could be much, much higher. After 3 months in intensive recovery, Amara Johnson made her first public statement. It was short, quiet, but unforgettable. Amara, clip, "I didn't survive for revenge. I survived so no one else would be buried and forgotten." Her story inspired policy changes in patient protection laws across 7 states. Eastbrook's crimes became a case study in medical ethics courses across the country. But her trauma can never be undone. But just when the world began to move on, something happened. 2 weeks after Langston's arrest, a cryptic message appeared on a private message board used by medical contractors. Text on screen: "Initiative Mercy was never shut down. It was just relocated. The architect, the end," or is it? What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.